Hey everyone, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. It's 10 o'clock on the dot, so let's go ahead and get started. My name is Maria Vera. I'm the Marketing Director at Acropolis Technology Group, and I'm going to teach you how to host a webinar. If you want to post your questions in the Q&A tab as you think of them during the webinar, because there is a slight delay, so just whenever you think of something, go ahead and put it in that Q&A tab on the side. You should see it. It has a question mark and a couple boxes on it. Okay, so where do I start? If you're thinking of having a webinar and you want to pick a topic that benefits your business and it also educates your potential clients, because those are the people that you want to draw into your webinar, and you want to educate them on your product so they want to buy it. It makes sense. Pick your date and time. I always say that a Thursday or Friday is good because it's the end of the week and people aren't as busy as they are Monday through Wednesday. And I also pick a time around 10 a.m. because I feel like it's early enough that everyone's got their coffee and they've checked their emails, but it's not too late in the day that people get distracted and forget about it. So that's just my preference, and I feel like we get the most traction with that date and time. And then the next thing you want to do is create bullet points. So basically, what is your webinar about? And then a few bullet points, maybe 3 or 4, just saying what you're talking about. People want to know what they're going to learn. So those bullet points are really important because that's going to go on a lot of your marketing material later. So really invest time in those bullet points, but don't overdo it and, create paragraphs. We just want like quick things that you're coming up with that you're going to talk about during your webinar. So creating the event. I prefer Microsoft Teams to create the live event through the calendar tab, but I'm also going to show you how to start that out in Zoom as well. And if you're in Zoom, you click on the schedule tab, and I'll show you what those look like. And then you're going to copy and paste the link and the passcode if you have one for your marketing material. So everyone goes to that link to register for your webinar. Okay, so here I took this from Google. It's basically just breaks down Zoom, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams so that you can kind of see the pros and cons. Where did my mouse go? Okay, you can see the pros and cons of each, and really, although we do prefer Microsoft Teams, Zoom has some great features as well. So what I always do is say, what is my webinar trying to accomplish, and which of these channels is the best way to go? Zoom, the thing I don't like about Zoom is they have a 40-minute time limit, so you don't really get that, if you go over, you're cut off. And Microsoft Teams, you're able to record and screen share and all that stuff. So I would invest time in seeing which one would work best for what your webinar is about. And if, personally for me, happy hours, I prefer Zoom because you can see everybody on the screen at once. So you don't have to wait for the person to talk to see their face. But for a webinar, you don't need that because you're the only one talking and showing your face. So you might prefer Teams. But anyway, I would invest a little time in that before you go further. So here we are in Microsoft Teams, and you've got this tab over here, which has an arrow. You're not going to create a new meeting. You're actually going to create a live event. So you want to click on the arrow and then click on live event, and it pulls up this screen. And so you're going to type in your title, the title of the webinar, mine was how to host a webinar, your date, your time, the location's virtual, so you don't need that. And then in Teams, you have your presenter and your producer. So in this webinar, I'm actually the presenter and the producer, but sometimes if people in my company host a webinar, they will be the presenters, and since I'm the marketing person, I'm the producer. The producer basically just kind of controls what screens are being shared and, ending the webinar, starting the webinar, that kind of stuff. So I am my own producer for this one. And then I just kind of filled out where I showed you where you can make things bold and the heading larger through there. And then you just click next. And so the event permissions, for a webinar like this one, I want it to be public because I want anyone to be able to come to the webinar. If you're just doing one internally with your company, you would do people in groups, or if those are like specific people that you pick that you just want to come, or org-wide, which is your company. So anybody in your organization can watch the live event. So with this one, we would go public. And then there's some more options below here. So how would you produce it? I definitely want a recording, because that I'm going to post later after the webinar is over. I can send that out a few different ways. And we want an attendee engagement report, which basically just sends you a report saying who attended, and if they engaged, if they asked questions. And then the Q&A, which I always click on because I feel like if people want to ask questions, there is a chat box, but the Q&A box is a little more official, so I go with that. So you're going to click schedule, and now you have your attendee link right here. This is the link that goes straight to your webinar. But you don't want to send that out to people just yet, because you want to filter them through your website. So copy this link and save it somewhere. And at the time of the event in your calendar, this is what's going to show up. You would click join. That's where you go. Okay, so next, now we're in Zoom. So basically, this is just the opening of when you open Zoom. And Zoom is free for everyone. If you pay for subscription, you get a little more features, just like anything else. But you would click the schedule button. And then you have this window. Type in your topic, your date, just like Teams. Everything's pretty much the same. Zoom offers you a password. They're pretty much known for being hacked, which is another reason I'm not a big Zoom fan. So they are a little tighter these days on trying to keep people out. So the password is probably a good idea if you're going to use Zoom. And then they also have this calendar invite feature if you want the invite to go out to people and send them a calendar invite. So I'm going to hit schedule. And then in Zoom, it automatically opens up your calendar, and here's today, and this is how to host a webinar, and there's your link. So then you can copy that link, send it out. Like I said, put it to the side because you're going to want people to go through your website. Spread the word. So now you've set up your webinar, you have your bullet points and your topic, and your next thing is to promote it. So ways to do this. First thing I do is I turned off my I put do not disturb on, so I'm getting Facebook stuff and my Facebook's not even open. I'm going to edit that later, and then when I put this on YouTube, it looks like I know what I'm doing still. So anyway, create a page on your website just for that webinar. So what I do is I create a page on our website that has the bullet points, the topic, all that stuff, and I can send everyone to our webpage to register. Make sure you add a registration form to that page. So I'm going to go over that later. I'm going to actually show you what that looks like, because there's information in there you're going to want to keep. And then you want to link everything to this page. Like I said, this is your home base for your webinar. And it's optional if you have the capacity to do this, or if you have a website person that codes for you, they can add coding onto your website that will automatically send an email with the link to the webinar after people register, so you don't have to do that part. Okay, so adding the page to your website. I'm going to actually click on this, and I should be able to share my screen with you. So just hang on one second, and I'm going to show you our website. So here we are, and this is our website, and at the top you can see where I put our webinars is here under resources, and then I go to webinar series. So here's all of our webinars. We've had a bunch, and basically what I do is, since this one's going on right now, you can still register for it. But after today, what I'll do is I'll post it on YouTube, and then I'll change that button to watch webinar so that people can watch it whenever they want. And then YouTube tracks how many people have watched it. So, but for now, I'm going to click register here. And then it's going to take me to, this is the home page I was talking about, where you want everyone to go to. So I've got the title, the bullet points, something about the speaker, and then this is the most important part, is the Register Here tab. So you don't want to make people put in too much information. People do not like giving out their information because they don't want to be harassed later. We all have been there. So basically, I only require 2 fields for them to be able to register for the webinar: their name and their email address. You don't need their company name because most email addresses that are business related have the company within their email. Mine's mbarra@acropolistech.com. So I know I work at Acropolis Technology Group. Same thing with this. So I'm not going to ask them to fill out more than I need because I don't want them to get frustrated. The phone number is optional. And then how did you hear about the webinar? I always put how did you hear about us in everything because I want to know which channels of my marketing is actually working. So are they hearing more from Facebook? Are they hearing more from LinkedIn? You want to know where all that's coming from. So for the next one, you can say, okay, I need to concentrate more on LinkedIn. This is where I'm getting more traction. And then they submit and you get that information. And then you send them the link to the webinar at the time. So that's basically what I do on our website. And yeah, I think it really, adds value because you have all of these past webinars that people can, your clients, whoever, can be educated at any point. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. You should be able to see PowerPoint again. Okay, so that registration form required fields, we talked about that. So basically, when everyone registers on that page, I get an email saying their name, what they filled in that form. And then I add them all to a Excel spreadsheet. So this is, I blurt out people's names and information, but you can see that even though I'm not requiring them to put their phone number and their how did they hear about us, people still give that information out, but they don't feel like they're being harassed. So I feel like it's a perfect formula for that. And then one extra step I take, if you have a web person that does coding, they can do this automatically, so you don't have to do this. But once they do register on your website, I send them a calendar invite as well, so that they always, they can see what's going on. They're like, oh yeah, I have that. It's on their calendar. So that's what this page is basically. And what I put in that is the same information: how to host the webinar, the bullet points, something about the speaker. And then I put in the link at the bottom so they know where to go at the time of the webinar. So it's time to go live. Have your presentation ready. Basically what I do is PowerPoint. I feel like it's professional and I can click through and talk at the same time. So that's my preferred method, but literally you can do anything. You could go into a demo mode and show people right on the spot what you're doing. I just like PowerPoint because I feel like it's more reliable. I can just click through, but again, you can do anything you want because you can share any browser. Make sure you have all of your alerts, sounds, and pop-ups turned off. And clearly I did not do that. So you can put your Mac, I'm on a Mac, I can put it on Do Not Disturb, or you can put Teams on Do Not Disturb, and you can change your settings so that no one's bothering you during your webinar. It's always good not to have distractions, even though it'll happen. Okay, close any extra windows. So you don't want any windows that you have open from anything else distracting people. If you are sharing your, your websites and stuff, you don't want people to see anything else. So make sure everything's closed. Be aware of your lighting and your backgrounds. So one thing I can give you as a tip is never have a window behind you that's open. You will be a shadow. Windows in front of you. You can see with mine right now, I have a window behind me, but I've closed it. And then I've got 2 windows in front of me. Just being aware of what's behind you. Normally my desk is over there and my computer's there. But you can see my bed behind me. So for a professional webinar, I've turned everything around. Just being aware of what's in your background. So sound checks. And actually, I'm going to be honest with you on this too, because I'm totally just putting it all out there. I was going to put earbuds in for this, because I did a couple sound checks and I actually realized that the earbuds were better sound, but at the last minute, I totally forgot to put them in. So I'm hoping everybody can hear me. If you can't, please let me know, because I haven't even checked to see if anyone can hear me, but no one's messaging me. So I think we're good. Okay, so at the time of your live event, what you're going to do is you're going to go in your calendar and you're going to click on your live event. I'm wondering why my mouse. Okay, here's my mouse. You're going to click on your live event in your calendar. It's going to show you this page. What you want to do is, if you're going to show video, turn on your video, your mic, always mute it before you go in. Then I click join now. This is the pre-live mode. As the producer, this is what my screen looks like. And you can see I took a screenshot while I was practicing. There's me in my nice sweatshirt. But as I'm practicing, you can see, so this is pre-live. I can share my screen, put in a slide at the beginning, and then when you're ready to go, you click send live, and then it'll put it in this screen over here. You have two options over here. If you want to show yourself while you're having the webinar, you can do that little video on the side. I feel like it's better for people to be able to see you talking, and it's a little more interesting. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to share your screen only, this is the button you do for that. Have your webinar. So you've got these tabs over here. Like I said, this is the Q&A. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in there. This is your take notes if you want to take notes. This is a chat box. This is inviting people that aren't in the webinar. You can click that and add them, and then you got your general settings. This first one is like your overall health of your webinar, how big the file is, all that fun stuff. So basically, when you ask a question, when people ask a question, it'll show up in my new, and then I can see what they're asking as the producer. If I approve it, if it's an appropriate question, then I click publish, it'll go to published, and all of you will be able to see what the question is. If I click dismiss it, it'll go in the dismissed. So you kind of have a filter there, and that's one of the jobs the producer does, is they filter out those questions. So today, me being the producer, it might take me a second to read through them, but we'll get there. I see there's a couple already, but we'll get to that in a minute. So when you're finished with the webinar, you want to click end, and then you're out. Wait, go back. I'm going back one. Okay, so the Q&A portion of the webinar, I forgot to mention that. Be sure to leave 5 to 7 minutes-ish at the end of your webinar, just for questions that people might have. I feel like 5 to 7 minutes is a good sweet spot for that. I never have a webinar go over 30 minutes because you're gonna bore people, they're gonna tone out. Nothing's good after 30 minutes. So 25 minutes of webinar, 5 minutes of questions, and it looks like I'm doing okay right now. Planting questions with coworkers. So if you feel like you're gonna hear crickets at the end of your webinar and you're not gonna get any questions, I say go ahead and plant some questions with your coworkers, because it shows interaction and it shows people are watching. To be honest with you, I did not plant any questions with this one because I wanted to be totally like, this is raw, like this is what happens in a webinar. But I do see there are some. So, it's up to you. If you're comfortable and you feel like those people are going to give you some kind of safety net, then I say go ahead and do it. What you want to do is add your email address while you've got this Q&A slide going on, so that if you don't get to someone's question, or, if you can't answer a question, I don't know every single thing about webinars and how to host them. So if someone's asking me a question and I don't know the answer, it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to look that up. I don't know the answer. I'll send you an email after the webinar. And if anybody else wants to know the answer to that, send me an email as well. And I'd be happy to look that up for you. There's no shame in not knowing everything. Always remind people at the beginning of the webinar to ask questions as they think of it, like I said, because there is a delay, just so that they get it out there. And if you've already answered it, that's fine. You can say, hey, I've answered this, but I'll go ahead and reiterate, this is the answer. And again, ending the webinar. So when you click end the webinar, it will say, are you sure you want to do this? You can't restart it after you've ended it. And you say, yes, end it. And now the live event has ended, but you're still in your producer presenter mode. So if there are other presenters, you can talk to them still, but you're not giving a webinar anymore. The audience is gone. There are 0 attendees. So you go ahead and click, and actually, so this is the health and performance tab. Sorry, I'm all over the place. This shows you how big the file is and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm going to click leave, and that is the end of the webinar. So what do you do when your webinar has ended and you've got all those 5 people that watched, but you want more people to watch? So you have to promote it. First thing you're going to do is download the video and all those reports I talked about, the attendee report and the Q&A report. That I would put in a file, and what I do is I upload that to YouTube. You can upload it to YouTube or Vimeo, whatever you think would be good for your company, and then I let YouTube track all those, numbers of watching. Edit the video. I do it myself in iMovie, so every time our company has a webinar, I'll go back into iMovie and I'll take out all the delays or the dogs barking or Facebook messages coming up or whatever happens. You can take all that out. So just relax and just have your webinar, and don't worry about, right now I've got 16 people watching. I don't think they're going to be upset, if my dog barks, but I can edit it out later. So just relax and know that anything can be changed. Add the video to YouTube or Vimeo. We talked about that. Change the status on your website. So when, like I said, that web page where mine says register here and all the rest of the webinars say watch now, I'm going to then change that over and put my video on YouTube. Sorry, I need a drink. Product placement, product placement. You can do that. Anyway, okay. Promote the video on social media and email to all clients and prospects. So you want to put on social media, hey, did you miss our webinar? Well, here it is. We've got it on YouTube. And we send out an email to all of our clients and just basically say, did you miss the webinar? Well, here it is. And we can track those emails. We use a company called Mind Matrix that tracks, when we send an email, who opens it. If they click on a link, we just can track all of that. So that's another way to track numbers and to see who's watching your videos. And I just said, track your numbers. So when you download the video and the reports, you're going to go back to your calendar link, click on the event after it happened, and then you'll see that it's going to show you the resources. And this is where your webinar is, your Q&A report, and your attendee engagement report are all there. So you just click the download button and you're good to go. And then webinar analytics. So after the fact, I do this once a month. I'll go back and I'll show the host, so who it is, and I blurred that out for everyone's, privacy. And then how many RSVPs they received, how many link clicks the email got, because I can get that from my matrix, how many YouTube views, and then to date. So, this guy did the first webinar back, way back when. So for each week, it's going to raise because more people will hopefully watch it. So you've got those dates and those numbers there. Okay, so now it's time for our Q&A, the real one. Does anyone have any questions? There's my email address. And so I'm going to have to go ahead and look at it looks like we have 5. So we can hear you. What kind of questions do you suggest planting with coworkers? So really my answer to that is, if you're going to plant a question, I would make it something that, again, teaches the potential client about your product. You always want that opportunity to say, hey, hey, we offer Microsoft Teams. So, maybe a question would be like, why is Microsoft Teams better than Zoom? Would be a good question for someone to ask in this case. And then you can say all the reasons why, and there's all these features and, so think of your product and your potential client when you're thinking of questions that you can ask or have someone else ask. Someone else asked, do you have any advice on cameras, mics, and lighting? And I can say that my camera on my laptop is perfectly fine. As far as when I was testing all my sound, and you know, all my coworkers are gonna make fun of me, but I'm an Apple girl. So I've got a Mac and I've also got Apple earbuds, which I think sounded really well. So even without them, I've been told in the comments that you can hear me perfect. So I think that's pretty much answers that. And I know the guys in the past have used headphones with a microphone on them. And if you want me to get you those, what they use for a PC, then just go ahead and email me and I'll ask the guys what they use on the PC front. Okay, so our next webinar is in 2 weeks, and our guy, Nathan Esposito, is going to be talking about Mimecast tips and tricks. And if nothing else, you might want to come just because he's got hair like John Stamos. So if anything, you want to see this guy's hair. So pretty much that is all I have. If you have, like I said, if you have any further questions or anything that you can think of, go ahead and send it to me. Okay, I've got one more question. How hard is it to interview someone on a webinar? Honestly, it's easier to interview someone than to talk to yourself, because right now I feel like I've just talked for 30 minutes straight, and I feel like when you're interviewing someone, it's super easy. You just add them as a presenter, and you just can go back and forth. So it's really, actually, it's a better idea to have more than one person presenting, honestly. Okay, I hope that answers all your questions. I'm not seeing any more popping up. So thank you for attending. And like I said, be on the lookout for, in 2 weeks, we'll have Nathan talking about Mimecast. And I'm gonna go ahead and edit this video and put it out there on YouTube. So if you missed any part of it, you can go ahead and log into YouTube and I will send it to you. Guess that's it. Have a good day. See ya.